From the labs that shaped modern medicine to the melodies that defined global culture, innovation has always had a heartbeat. I am shining a light on the scientists, inventors, artists, and pioneers whose brilliance quieted the doubts and changed the world forever. Welcome to the History of Beautiful Black Excellence. 2.5 years late, but right on time, the wind in Galveston, Texas, was about to carry a message that would rewrite the meaning of American freedom forever. The morning of June 19, 1865, began like any other in Galveston, Texas, heavy with Gulf Coast humidity and the weight of relentless labor. For Althea, a woman who had spent her entire life enslaved on a plantation just outside the city, the passage of the Civil War had been nothing more than a series of distant rumors. Though General Robert E. Lee had surrendered at Appomattox over 2 months earlier, life in this remote corner of Texas continued as if the Confederacy still stood. That changed when a column of Union soldiers, dusty from travel and dressed in blue, marched into the city. At the head of the column was Major General Gordon Granger. He stood before a gathered crowd in Galveston and read aloud from General Order No. 3. Althea, who had walked into town on an errand, stood near the back of the crowd, listening intently as his voice carried over the quiet streets. The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. The words hung in the warm air. Althea looked at the faces around her. At first, there was a heavy, stunned silence. The Emancipation Proclamation had been signed by President Abraham Lincoln 2.5 years earlier, on January 1, 1863. Yet, due to the minimal presence of Union troops in Texas and the deliberate withholding of the news by slaveholders, thousands of black men, women, and children had remained in bondage, unaware of their legal freedom. Then, the silence broke. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by tears, disbelief, and a rising tide of jubilation. People embraced, prayed, and sang. For Althea, the realization was overwhelming. The labor that had defined her existence was no longer forced, her family could no longer be torn apart by sale, and her future, for the first time, belonged to her. The following year, on June 19, 1866, Althea and her community gathered once again. They called it Jubilee Day. They dressed in their finest clothes, which had previously been forbidden under laws restricting what enslaved people could wear, and gathered to pray, feast, and sing spirituals. As decades passed, the annual celebration spread. When Black Texans migrated to other parts of the United States, they brought the tradition with them, renaming it Juneteenth, a portmanteau of June and 19th. Despite the challenges of the Reconstruction era, the rise of Jim Crow laws, and systemic oppression, Juneteenth remained a quiet but resilient symbol of hope and survival. It served as a reminder that freedom is a journey, often delayed, but worth fighting for. Over a century and a half later, the legacy of that day in Galveston is recognized nationwide. Juneteenth stands not only as a celebration of the end of slavery in the United States, but also as an opportunity to reflect on the ongoing pursuit of equality, honoring the resilience of those who, like Althea, stepped out of the shadow of bondage and into the light of freedom. Well, there you have it. History is still being written, and excellence never stops. Like, follow, and share to help keep these stories alive. See you next time on Beautiful Black Excellence.